Hey Devin, how you doing?
Well, Pete, the stream is live, baby. I'm doing all right. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing pretty good. So we did come here today to do our obligatory podcast episode about the Epstein fiasco, as it perhaps unravels MAGA, or at least like segments of MAGA. And I'm just so fascinated by this. I do feel like it is somewhat obligatory, but at the same time, like I have to admit, I'm excited to talk about this today. So,
I'm pretty jazzed. I've definitely seen, in the captive pool of shrimps that is the Republican Party. Like somebody dropped a little morsel in there, and they're
yeah,
all active,
that's
dude.
like.
It's like watching some sea monkeys fight over some fish flakes, man. It's crazy. I'll just say this before you launch into your thoughts are on it, but it's funny because I do cultivate in like a little pen to the side of my social media, like my little Republican kind of touchstones.
Mhm.
And I'm very careful with them. I have like a very Star Trek, like non-interaction policy with them where like I don't want to like disturb their cultural milieu. I'm just kind of farming them to see what like normie Republicans think. And man, it's been a real week of cope, dude. Like they're really they're really digging the bottom of the can of cope this week, and it's crazy to watch cognitive dissonance just kind of like sizzle up to the surface for these folks because a lot of them are like, there's just no fucking way, man. And I'm like, I mean, there is a way, man. It kind of seems obvious to everybody up until now that something fishy was going on here. I get that you're kind of dug in on this, like, Trump is Jesus position, but, like, got to read the writing on the wall, man.
Yeah, I mean, to talk a little bit about the skepticism of the Trump Epstein connection, I am kind of fascinated by the characters like Richard Hanania and Michael Tracy, who are like lefties ish, but then they have dug their heels into this position that we can't trust the survivors. Like a lot of them are grifters, and I forget exactly what else they say, but they go on like, and this is the thing that I don't. Are you familiar with Michael Tracy at all?
No.
He's this guy who became he's like a journalist, and he became quite well known during. I mean, this at least how I know him is during like the RussiaGate shit. And he was like the liberal dude being like, RussiaGate is a complete hoax, and here's why. And he does all this like drilling down into the details thing. And in my view, he misses the forest for the trees kind of famously in that
Uh-huh.
discussion, in a lot of discussions. And he did
Sure.
the same exact thing with Epstein. But
Sure.
like, I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I can like follow him down those rabbit holes into like the details and be like, oh, okay, yeah. So on this one talking point, this is maybe why we shouldn't believe this one particular victim on this one point. But then like when you pull back and it's like, guys, this is Donald J. fucking Trump, who like famously, if anyone knew anything about him, is that he liked to leer at young girls in the locker room at the beauty
He
pageant
was,
or whatever. It's like, come on,
he
you can't
was,
do this.
he was Joe Biden before Joe Biden. He was the hair sniffer. He was the
Yes.
creepy. He was like a famed philanderer.
Okay, in general, well, I want to set the record straight on where I'm at with like my biases a little teeny bit, just like not with Trump, but like the universe.
Yeah.
Tell me if you think this is too much, but like I
Yeah.
think in general, if you see a news story about a celebrity and it's that they did something kind of sort of bad and it's kind of sort of sexual in nature, whatever is the news story, the reality is 50 million times worse.
Yeah.
And we see this play out with like
Yep.
R. Kelly and with a lot of
Yep.
these dudes because like you know how those stories always start out with like, oh, there was this little like sexual impropriety. And then like you follow that story over the next like couple of decades, and then all of a sudden it's like 30,000 gallons of lube. Like it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier.
It's
And like
so true.
even
It's
that,
like
the reality is even like weirder and nastier
it,
than what we're hearing, you
it's
know?
such it's such a good point because it was like R. Kelly, like oh, you know, kind of around the horn, like I like some young, right? And then like percolating, and then he's peeing on him. You know, you're like, what? Like, nah, man. Yeah.
So yeah, where are we with Trump, Devin? I want to get your like on the record. What do you think Trump actually did? And then let's maybe get into the details of the news a little bit. But what do you think, if you had to guess, what do you think actually went down? Because like, not to prime your response here, but like the maximalist claim that I'm seeing is that Trump gave a blowjob to Bill Clinton. There's a Polaroid picture of it, and there's a good chance Putin literally has it, because Jeffrey Epstein's brother said that, or, you know, alluded to it right there in black and white print in an email to Epstein. I mean, like, if there were ever like a maximalist case for why this story matters and why it could bring down Trump in history, you know, like, that's the maximalist case. I don't want to say that happened, but like, that's whatever happened. It's either there or somewhat south of there, right? I don't know. Okay, where are you at?
Well, I've got two questions that just really hit me hard from kind of a journalistic standpoint. And the first is, you think Trump gives good head?
Well, he doesn't drink, so it's not a sloppy drunk situation. I don't know. It's very thoughtful.
You think he gives thoughtful head? He gives kind of that, like,
well, because he's not a sloppy drunk type, so it would be.
Okay, I can't push you that hard, Peter. You're family man.
I do actually want to. I want to add a little bit to what I actually previously said too, because I saed that my maximalist case just involves Bill Clinton, but like the maximalist case also
he's giving head to everybody. Trump's sucking everybody's dick, dude.
No.
That's the maximalist case.
The maximalist case also involves the young girls, because we can't forget the victims here, Devin. Bill Clinton is not a victim. He's a benefactor to all of this.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. No, okay.
This is serious, Devin. This is the serious news story.
It is a serious news story, man. Why you gotta bring it down, dude?
Oh God. Let's get a visual. Oh, hold on. Let's get a visual.
Oh no. Oh no. I don't think you're gonna get us banned from YouTube if you pull up this Polaroid right now, Pete.
Okay, here we go. No, I know. Wouldn't that
we're,
be?
We're the pod that breaks the Polaroid. We're the Woodward level. Oh.
Okay, how's this for a visual? We got Trump holding hands with Clinton, Bill. And
you know,
Trump's wearing a shirt that says "I drain the swamp," and Clinton's shirt says "swamp." Okay, so here's a maximalist case of Trump.
Perhaps my opinions on AI slop have started to change.
AI slop's been winning this week, I have to tell you. It's winning.
Oh, dude, I saw. I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I did see a video this week of a cat playing fiddle on a porch.
Dude, everyone's been talking about that. Yeah, I saw a snippet of it. I didn't click on it because I was in public when I came upon it. But like, yeah, that's what. Yeah,
it's funny. Look, okay, here's the deal with Trump. I'm going to relate to you a story that I related to you yesterday, but in the brief, because I think it is illustrative. Many years ago, I was in a supermarket, and I was doing a job somewhere else in California. And did we lose the Pete? Peter? Uh-oh, guys, I think we might have lost the Pete. What do? I vamp?
Technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
Lost the Pete, dude. The Pete's back. We're at DEFCON Pete.
You're in a supermarket. We're
back at DEFCON Pete. So I was in the supermarket, many years ago, and I was traveling around California doing some kind of job, and I was just in a talkative mood, and I ended up talking with this guy who was a Freemason, because he had the ring on, and it was like the big like class ring style dealio. And I was like, what's the deal? What's the deal with Freemason stuff? I was really into Illuminati stuff. I have a really fun Illuminati story that I can tell at some point on the pod. But The guy kind of goes on, and he's talking about how in the Freemason kind of system, you go through these levels, and most of them are about community service and brotherhood, right? And that was the whole narrative. He was like, and then you get to this level, and then it's really about like acts of service and being a part of your community, being a pillar of your community. And then he goes, well, there is a certain point, because I was like, well, what about all the weird stuff that we hear about? And what about like the ritualistic stuff that, is always in the news and stuff? And he's like, what I will say is that there does come a point where you have to engage in a trust exercise with the brothers in the brotherhood, what the fuck they call their little conclave. And he was like, I can't tell you about it, but just kind of suffice to say, it's something that makes sure that you can trust the people around you and they can trust you. And when I was at that time, I think I was thinking like, okay, you guys are doing funny stuff with kids, or you're like doing something really like hateful or like weird, like killing a puppy or something like that on video. And then and then honestly, over the years, I've reflected on that conversation a few times, and just with like the homophobia that's embedded in like boomer like level political culture, I'm like, oh no, you guys were sucking each other off and taking pictures of it because it would ruin, because back then, and maybe even now, it would like ruin your life to be like, sucking off your bro at the Freemason Hall. Your wife would leave you and stuff. I think we might live in a little bit more of a freewheeling time, to be honest with you now, Pete. But just suffice it to say, like, in all reality, I know that I'm kind of like the wingnut, on the aileron of the wing of conspiracy theories on this podcast, but I actually do think that there's a realistic chance that secret society or powerful people were at some point doing things that they knew would give them compromise on someone else, or were trading favors for that. I mean, like, you start hanging out around enough rich people and you realize, like, man, it's like their world is this fucking big, dude. It's not the broader world. There's not that many of them. There's not that many powerful people in the world. And I do think that there's some license to the idea that for a long time, to become a powerful person, you had to kind of proffer some kind of compromise to like whatever power structure you're trying to be a part of, so that they could rely on you to not compromise whatever they're trying to do.
It is interesting. I mean, I this cuts a little bit both ways. Just to dwell on this for a second, because I think it is an interesting conversation. You know how like Bohemian Grove that was built up to be like the biggest conspiracy of all time, and then Alex Jones and John Ronson wander in there, and it's just like the most boring, normal thing. And like, yeah, there's some weird ritual element to it, but like, it's not that exciting. It's kind of boring. Yeah. It's old men talking about war or whatever, or finances. It's
sure
boring as hell. So I think that like there is that with like Skull and Bones and maybe some like super hyper rich people. Maybe there's weird shit that's going on, but like the element here that's not even in that story or in Bohemian Grove type stories is this is Jeffrey Epstein, that his like famous MO is to entice people to get things that they might not otherwise do. And this was apparently like his specialty, like his knack. Right? Like maybe he couldn't even do any financial shit to save his life, but he could get people to do weird shit.
Right.
He could very likely, as far as we know, like it seems like he kind of like documented a lot of it. We don't know that exactly yet, but like apparently there's so much talk about Polaroids apparently. So that, in this, like in the context of this hypothetical Bubba situation, Bill Clinton was president, right? And Trump was just a famous guy. And he was like Jeffrey Epstein's like buddy, and they would probably egg each other on to do weird shit. In that situation, it is not the craziest thing to imagine that this just might have happened, right? And like, it's also not that hard to believe that Epstein, with his insane connections to so many powerful people would have a connection to Putin and like share this. You know, I mean, like it does get crazy. It does get crazy. Like I would never have thought this a couple of weeks ago until it starts to spell itself out. And one last point here. This is the most interesting thing to me is that like the power of stories that I always low key kind of come back to. Stories are more powerful than the reality. This is like the fucking Bible, right? This is why the Bible still exists. Not that any of it's fucking true, but it's a story that's very powerful, right?
Yeah.
This story that's now been implanted in my brain and like anybody who logs online now, you can't erase that out of your brain. And like people are going to look at Donald Trump differently just because his story is out there with like a semi-credible gloss on it, right? So like reality has been altered because of the story this week.
This is full Richard Gere puts gerbil up his ass level, like staying power. I feel like, and one of the things that gives me a great deal of pleasure about this story is that it's gained such kind of traction in the zeitgeist that Trump is definitely hearing from people, like from news sources, that he sucked Bill Clinton's dick.
Right. Yes. And can you verify this? Yeah. 100%.
I just know that he's like, and just imagine, because on either side of reality, he's just squirming like a little piggy right now. Because if he didn't do it, it's got to be just pissing him off so bad. And if he did do it, oh my God, imagine the feeling of holding that secret and trying to defend yourself against it. I mean, the shame, dude.
I mean, it is interesting that the White House is doing damage control right now. I don't know if you've seen this, and I don't have it pulled up, but like they're doing all these photo spreads of Trump and Melania holding hands, like power couple, like that sort of shit. And it's just straight up damage control, and it's just not working because like it all gets ratioed, you know, in the comments. Yeah. So I don't know. This is gossip galore, but it's also hilarious because like the implications. Because just to play it out slightly more, if there's even the 1% chance Putin does have some Polaroid straight from like express from Jeffrey Epstein. That was the secret that libtards like us have been like suspicious about, that Putin does have something over Trump like this whole time, because Trump's reactions towards Putin have been a little bit sus.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not ready to go full conspiracy there, but like it's been a little sus, and I've never bought into the Russiagate thing because like it's definitely not a hoax. There is a lot of there. I don't want to like rehash that. Obviously I could, but like I don't want to. Some of it was a hoax and a lot of it I think wasn't, but like, yeah, like this is weird. Like this is crazy. Like
Trump gives me the impression of someone that has re-leveraged his power since his first presidency, because I feel like when in his first presidency, he felt very squirrely. Like a lot of things, especially having to do with Russia, felt really off limits and kind of touch and go with him. He's got a lot more functional power over kind of the United States arsenal when it comes to tariffs, when it comes to weapons, when it comes to wars. And he's like obviously much more functionally in control of a lot of those dynamics of the American kind of machine. And I can imagine a world in which, you know, there's compromise out there against Trump in several different dimensions, but he actually does have a lot of functional leverage right now. And it seems like, you know, because the conversation around Putin this last 6 months has gone pretty far back and forth, right? It's gone from like, well, maybe Ukraine needs to just kind of return to the borders that they had in 2015 and we can call it a day. And then it'll kind of swing wildly over the course of a couple of weeks to like, I think Ukraine can take all their territory back and Putin's really pissing me off right now. And like, you know, I mean, also to say like, Epstein was, in my mind, there's no doubt in my mind that he was a Mossad agent. And the Israelis are really kind of the primary intelligence gathering agency, like state agency on earth. They're shameless. They're absolutely brazen. They've planted multiple microphones in the White House that have been found, like towards allies, right? Like they don't have allies. They're a single country in a sea of enemies. And that's how they treat every other country on earth with their intelligence services. And I just can't imagine how Epstein wasn't the furthest extension of that arm, personally.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I've listened to podcasts both ways. Yes, he was part of Mossad, and no, he was not. And that's what's also so intriguing and enduring about this story is that there's a lot, like, you can argue it both ways on all these
But you can't,
points, right?
but you can't though. And that's the thing that keeps driving me fucking insane about Epstein is that like Maxwell's father was an intelligence chief in the Mossad, right? So it's like, well,
I know,
how
but
are
like real talk though, have you ever listened to like a long form thing about like why, and people debunk it and then they undebunk it? Like there's, you totally can credibly argue the other side of that. I can't. I haven't
but
like memorized any
I
talking
guess
points, but I'm just saying
I
like that's why it's so interesting, because you can say like, oh, he was so much part of the Mossad, and then like somebody who's, you know, a New York Times journalist will be like, yeah, but why he's not, you know, and be like, oh fuck, I didn't think about that.
but
You know, and it's fascinating. It's genuinely fascinating. Also, there's a Les Wexner angle to this whole thing. Like there's so much. It's so juicy. It's so like this is primo America. Like
I think
gossip.
forest through the trees for me though, because it's like we're looking, or forest for the trees, because we're looking at the same thing with Trump right now, where it's like yesterday I'm looking at a picture where Trump's got his arm snatched around this young girl's waist, and like
Mhm.
how many times do we see Trump just kind of pawing at like young women in these photographs, and then and having this very close relationship with Epstein, and we're like, where's the proof? And I'm like, man, like, do we really live in a fucking society where we need the picture of Epstein, or we need the picture of Trump sucking Clinton's dick to think that he maybe is
Yes.
not the best guy? Like, I hate that. I
No,
hate that.
no, no. I totally 100%. Yeah. Obviously, I feel you. Well, I mean, so I want to talk about the Megyn Kelly situation a little bit, and the
Okay.
MAGA situation, and just all some of those characters, because I think it's
Yeah.
important to talk about a little bit. Did you catch the Megyn Kelly situation at all?
No, no, this will be news to me. Tell me what's going on.
Oh God, I'd pull it up if I had the clip handy. But so Megyn Kelly was talking to Batya Ungar Sargon, one of my least favorite people, but
Mm,
yeah, I think you remember who she is.
mhm.
And they were talking about how they did like the meme of, well, Epstein wasn't really a pedophile. This is all in defense of Trump. He wasn't really a pedophile because he only liked girls like maybe like 15 and maybe older. You know what I mean? So like it's a hebephile. It's not a ped. And like they were doing that and leaning into that as the talking point.
Guys.
Yeah, and like this is where you like I'm honestly down to have that conversation. Totally down, because like every piece of information is relevant. Let's have it out there. But like this is the segment you're gonna like hit with on a podcast with this many people, and this is the best defense you can muster of Donald Trump. I mean,
Right.
she rambled about other things, all in defense of Donald Trump, and this is all to defend Donald Trump. Like that is the reason these talking points exist. Like she, if you, the tables were turned on this, and there was like the Dems were trying to like defend Clinton or something else on a similar charge. And if they had been, oh yeah, but he's not really a pedophile, he's technically like, she would have been the one being like, this is absolutely indefensible. She goes on this like
Yeah.
powerful
Flick.
rant about it, right? And but then she's doing that, and she can't see how that is the same sort of thing that she herself gets upset about. You
There's
know,
such
like
there's such a,
this it just, yeah,
there's such a
her brain has been melted.
sycophantic
Yeah.
there's such a sycophantic culture around Trump, and I guess that's like
Yeah.
politics has just become another like team sport in the United States, where there's that same like weird like, like Bills versus the Eagles fucking kind of like fervor and rivalry, and there's like this infinite ability to backward engineer your position for someone. And I think it's crazy because I do see this reality in which a shoe actually drops and hits the floor. And then there's like 50 to 100 million Americans that just have like egg on their face, man. I was going to say something else on their face. And I think it's like, it is. I don't understand it. I don't have an ability to really like backward engineer my moralism in a way that allows me to divorce myself from like the desire to hold whatever politician is in front of me accountable for whatever they may have done. Like, these people are supposed to be living at the highest standard. Like, it's supposed to be politicians, judges, right? Like, it's supposed to be people that are really looking out for the best interests of everybody. And we're sliding down this weird slope where we're allowing the politicians to just be shit rats. And I'm like, we used to make them put a fig leaf on that. And now we're just in this weird race to the bottom where somebody who's obviously a fucking pedophile is skating. I'm like, I really struggle with this shit, man. I really actually don't get how you get so pitted in your support for somebody that stuff like this comes out and you don't start backpedaling.
I'm gonna say one lib coded thing here, Devin. That's like just clearly lib coded. But I have seen so many people, and this was part of this segment we're talking about here, who just this week have turned on Trump.
Good.
And so there was a town in Montana that voted like 89 or like 94% Trump. And then
What
they all
town?
had like, oh, dude, you would know this. That's true.
I would,
You
yeah,
lived there
totally.
for a little bit.
Yeah. Montana is like, that's where I've got all my little farmed Republican piglets.
This was that picture that I had pulled up earlier. I could find it again. But okay, so it's not saying the town on this. Oh man, I wish I could find the town. Montana town. Boy, how come no one's saying the town? I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up later. But yeah, so Montana town like had a town gathering where they all burned their MAGA hats together or something like this, and they all took photos of it. That's like the headline photo of this image. Maybe I will have to try to pull it up. But again, this is my lib coded thing, and I'm so sorry to have to say this, but like, it really is this. We've always known Trump is a sexual pervert. We've always known this. And like, now he just is tied to Epstein in one particular way, or maybe it's not even Epstein. Maybe this is like the Bill Clinton photo hypothesis. But like, now, guys, really, now is the time you're turning on Donald Trump and realizing he's a pervert. It wasn't when he was having sex with a porn star when his wife was pregnant. It wasn't then. It wasn't when he said grab him by the pussy for the, before he even became president. It wasn't then. And then forget sexual impropriety, because we know all these guys are perverts. Going in, we know that, right?
Right.
It's like, it's not that he's just like having masked agents deport people with green cards and have been here for their whole lives, and we're like okay with that. And it's not maybe just randomly starting wars in Venezuela without asking Congress for, like, there's the whole litany, and like trying to deny as many people as possible healthcare while he's saying he's going to bring us all the best healthcare that never materializes. The list is just so on and on about how he like genuinely hurts real people in America. Doesn't care, but we just suddenly care about like sexual things he may or may not have done 30 years ago. It's like, please, like, like, it's just pathetic that it comes to this. And I get it. It's just like conservative ick thing. Like, a lot of conservative morality is built on just a natural like ick, and that's like the beginning and end of their moral system. Cool. Congrats, guys. But that's dumb and that's lame. And I think it's sad that it's come to this.
I think so too. And I think you can only really blame one thing for it. And it's the abject failure of the Democratic Party to have any kind of coherent voice over the last 20 fucking years, dude. Because the Trump phenomenon, I'll say it, I've said it 100 times and I'll say it again. It has to do with the way he talks. And there just is nothing more to it than that. And one of the things that people don't realize here in California is that the media coverage of Trump is really favorable in everywhere that's not a major city. And he actually is a pretty charming dude. And I hope every liberal I've ever met fucking hates me for saying that, because because I swear to God, people, I'll say that to people and they'll be like, what? And I'm like, see, this is what a siloed news system looks like, where you don't even have the ability to acknowledge that 50 million people are seeing something favorable. 100 million people are seeing something favorable in this guy. You're so convinced that you hold the moral and ethical and intellectual high ground, that you know the truth. And I think that is like the kind of like the central conceit at the heart of modern liberalism that will continue to destroy the party, will continue to franchise republicanism to spread, because there isn't any real kind of 50,000-foot view of what's going on, or an ability to acknowledge a shared reality. I mean, it's, you go to Montana and you watch what Trump looks like, because they show him being a diplomat. They show him
Right.
talking well with people and charming people and getting the things that he wants out of them. And then if there's something that's like sexual in nature, it's the most brief possible, granular, teeny little aside that maybe we need to reference it because this. And then on the other side of it here, it's all we hear. It's all we hear about him. It's all we hear about him. It's all we hear about him is that he's this terrible dude and blah, blah, blah. And so for anybody that's living in a city, we're thinking like, how could you not see this person for who they are? And it's because our news system is so sufficiently siloed that two different people exist. There is functionally a Donald Trump for Democrats, and there is functionally a Donald Trump for Republicans, and they are two completely different politicians that do completely different things, you know? And so I'm with you because I am obviously in California and see how dastardly this fool is. And I think that's how it happens, man. I think that's why it's such a common sense, liberal, normie lib take. And it also doesn't resonate with anyone else in the country.
Yeah. Okay, I want to linger on this just a teeny bit more, then we got to move on to other topics.
Okay.
But okay, so I had a celebrity sighting this over the weekend.
Yang.
I guess, yeah, I saw Andrew Yang, but I also had a pretty cool conversation with Cenk Uygur, of all people.
Cool.
I didn't know he's going to be at this Yang event, but like he was, and I went over and like chatted with him, and it was kind of cool because he was like super easy to chat with, and he was like kind of cool. And I was like, cool. I expected of all people, I thought he would be kind of standoffish in like real life, but he wasn't. He was like totally cool, and we had like cool conversation. Guess what he brought up within the first like minute or two of us chatting?
Tell me.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. He brought up about how stoked she is on like the turn that she's making. Yeah. And this is so fascinating to me because I could see that he was like genuinely like excited about this and like genuinely like into her. And there wasn't this kind of like in real life, he's going to tell you the real shit about like, or whatever. It was like the real life shit was, oh, he's so stoked about this.
Oh, yeah.
This actually is one of the most surprising things in American politics today because MTG was like the biggest Trump supporter, the biggest. And she started making sense a while ago. I don't have any, I know people have theories about why this is. I don't really know what theory to believe or whatever, but like, it's shocking because she was on Bill Maher recently, like saying some sensical things. And she had like a complete falling out with Trump this week. And Trump has completely disowned her now. Like, this is a major shift. This is the MAGA splintering that people have been foretelling for years now. This is like a real actual rift. This is like real.
Foretelling it in the crystal, in the murky crystal. It's crazy, dude. Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I love that you brought her up right now because I think it really, really is such a great component to the argument I just made about siloed informational ecosystems. Because as Californians, what do we know about Marjorie Taylor Greene? We know that she is a psychotic, screechy Republican who thinks that Jews are shooting lasers at us from space, right? That's it. That's all we know about her. We've only ever seen really, really like Oppo type information come out about her. In the rest of the country, they see a different version of her. And I have been lucky enough a few times to catch both Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, famously disgraced political people in this country, to city dwellers from the other side of the media. And like, bro, they actually have been making sense on certain issues for a while. Like
Matt Gaetz says not dumb things pretty often. I've actually noticed that.
Man, like the first time I ever heard him talk policy, I was actually floored. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, and then
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
and then again, you have to remind yourself, dude, people aren't stupid. Masses of people are stupid. Individuals, you know how much fucking bandwidth it takes to just be an American citizen, to have a normal job and pay rent and do all of those things. Like, you can't be a dumbass and do that. It actually is just functionally kind of hard to live in this country generally. And when people vote, they vote for reasons, and like both of those people, famously disgraced in liberal media, have always kind of been darlings in the Republican media sphere, because the parts of their policy platforms that make sense actually get broadcast out to that constituency. And with Marjorie Taylor Greene, the turn that she's been making has been so epic. And every time she goes on a podcast or a talk show or something like that, I mean, she just sounds so eminently reasonable, and she sounds like the Midwestern mom that everybody can kind of relate to. She definitely has kind of like, she reminds me of Tim Walz a little bit for Republicans, where there's like this kind of down hominess that isn't really that screechy anymore and is a little bit more angry and rooted. And it's like, it's amazing to watch it disrupt the kind of MAGA movement and the MAGA base, because the people who ride with that lady, I think they really actually dig her above Trump in a lot of ways, because she does seem to be about the things that she says she's about.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm not going to follow you all the way there in terms of like actually liking her, appreciating her, because one, we don't know what the grift
I
is.
went all the way there.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't actually mean to. That pivot came out a little bit wrong, but like, now that you adore her so much, Devin,
dude, mommy.
But like, I'm also just
mommy.
like, I'm not a populist at all, and I like, she is, and like, it's the dummies who lead civilizations off cliffs who are populists.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, she's gonna just like, what the people want is like that talking point. I'm so sorry, that is the death of nations. So sure. I'm not following her on like literally anything. Like, I don't think that she's smart. I don't think that she's well read. She like owned a gym or something. Like, she's not a smart, well read, thoughtful person who knows much about anything in terms of like the world.
I think she's smart. I don't think she's.
I truly don't get that from her talking. Even like having
listened to her a little bit now. I don't think she's an intellectually intelligent.
No, she's not an intellectual.
But like, again, in the same kind of earthy, elemental way that it just takes a lot of fucking bandwidth to be like a worker bee in this country, I think she's got a lot of like weird embedded kind of like native intelligence from just being a political an unskilled political operator making her way through a really dense political culture. Like, she's obviously, the system has educated her on certain things that are right and wrong in her opinion, and I think there is something there. I think there is some, but I agree with you. She's definitely not like in the liberal style, an intellectual, or even in the Eric Weinstein style, like an intellectual, like, I think she's smart though. I think she's got her shit screwed on straight in certain ways, but the thing is with populists is that the winds can change, right? As soon as the wind changes, the opinion about what's right and wrong changes. And so they're really pretty unreliable narrators in terms of, I don't know, what they actually believe.
Well, we will see what this all bodes for Trump. He has gotten out of basically or literally everything up until this point. We'll see if this actually splinters the MAGA base and if that has consequences for him. We'll see. I don't know. Like, I don't think impeachment's going to go anywhere, and I don't even necessarily want a JD Vance over Trump anyway. So I don't know what I even want out of the situation. I couldn't honestly tell you, but it's fascinating. It's like entertaining as hell, and it's fascinating. Let's do a hard pivot, Devin. We also wanted to talk about China. So we've been having a kind of like off the record conversation about our mutual fascination with parallel news stories that you see, because they are literally parallel by the same publications. That's totally credible. Also, like YouTube heads, like the broad conversation in America is two diametrically opposed conversations about China. One is it's extraordinarily powerful. Their like AI dominance is just like, and an underbelly ready to rise. They can, they've got like this amazing fleet of cars for the BYD cars for 10 grand. You get an amazing electric car, and they're building all these robots that are now going to be in all of our homes, supposedly, etc. On and on and on. So there's that, the powerful China on the rise.
Right.
Contrary to that is like this New York Times article I've pulled up. The China that the world sees is not the one I live in. And so this is the story. Maybe I'll quote from it in a second. All about how like it's that the paper tiger story, and also like this is also the Peter Zion story a little bit about how like the average age in China is like 50 something. They're gonna like pretty soon not have a consumption base. They're gonna fail because of that, and they're gonna splinter off into like sub countries or whatever, and like chaos and warlords like they have been throughout the vast majority of their history, because like they're just not gonna be able to sustain this, and we're seeing like signs of that. That's a maximalist view that like China's done in 10 years, but like I don't know, man. The parallel stories, it's so interesting. I would like to see a smart person do an analysis of like, how these two parallels hold together. I think that I can maybe argue the side that China's going to fall apart, whereas you can maybe argue the side that like, just for fun, I could argue both ways. But like, let me read a little quote from this article. Since
I've been exposed to enough propaganda on either side that I think I could form a pretty coherent argument for either side at this point.
Maybe we don't even necessarily need to argue it. Maybe just like we can chat about this phenomenon, because it is kind of fascinating, and it does like impact our lives, like for sure, and the future, of technology.
100%.
Let me read this little quote. That muscular facade is punctured here in China, where despair about dimming economic and personal prospects is pervasive. This contrast between a confident state and its weary population is captured in a phrase Chinese people are using to describe their country, which roughly translates as outwardly strong, inwardly brittle. And of course, there were a lot of details here. And like another story that was prominent recently was about some Chinese dude who did some like elaborate prank to just like kind of call out the surveillance state there. And then I don't know if you caught this, and I wish I had the details of it, but like he was in France while this thing played out, where he's like projecting an anti-government slogan on the side of a building or something like this. And then like the police went to his apartment where he's being projected from. And there was another camera set up there to watch the police. And then they followed it to another path. And then like there was another camera watching them there. And it was like this elaborate prank to like show how just kind of like low-key dumb the surveillance state is. And he was meanwhile in France, like hanging out. It might've been Europe or England. In any case,
I love that.
And then like there's this whole like side story there about how like the people in China hate their government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and like there's like what 20% youth unemployment, something that's just absolutely unheard of in America. That's that side a little bit. Let me toss it to you and get your thoughts.
I feel like is this dog messing with the audio, or are we good?
Definitely trying to have an input in the background there, but it's okay.
Let me scoot, because somebody's not taking care of their fucking dog. Peter, as I migrate into the most cinematic.
Damn, this became all cinematic. Yeah, this became like action.
The closet.
Oh shit.
Oh, wait. Let me get behind my special. Wait. You're gonna have to just bear with me here.
I feel like someone's gonna jump out and like get you, Devin.
Well, Karen, it's gonna be my sweet girlfriend Karen, because she absolutely wants to flay me alive every time I show how messy our house is.
It was perfectly dark, so we couldn't actually see anything
on the podcast. Okay, switching to the ultra cinematic closet,
just to make sure the CCP isn't tracking this conversation right now. Is that what's happening?
Lord knows the CCP can't see me if I'm behind enough jackets. Look, man, here's the deal. While I recompose my thoughts and look 10 times more haggard in non-natural lighting, I've seen so much propaganda about China in the last 10 years. And I
Mhm.
think that one of the things that has been shocking to me is that there's been any movement on the way that we look at China, because there just can't be any other reality than that they are an adversarial country and have nefarious motives toward us, kind of writ large. And what has been shocking me recently, and especially like listening to Breaking Points and listening to some kind of like normie lib podcasts and stuff, is that there's a little bit of a romantic there's this trend of romanticizing certain parts of the Chinese economy that are very much based on what they tell us, right? And I think the electric car situation really is a great thing to think about first, because because I'll just take Breaking Points for example, Crystal and Sagar, and like the way that they're like, well, you get an electric car for $10,000 in China, and then you send me this article that talks about the way that the system kind of filters those cars down to people and why they're so cheap
I
and
just
why
pulled it up right here. Yeah, and The
you
Atlantic had this article. China's EV market is imploding. Beijing's grand ambition threatens to take down the global car industry, et cetera, et cetera. Fascinating article, by the way. I recommend it.
It was cool. I read the entire thing, and I think that to me it's very emblematic of the way that China kind of does business generally, which is they fucking lie about everything that's going on in their country. And I just don't understand why we've come around in any functional way as a society, as a political culture, as a culture generally, to believing anything that the Chinese Communist Party says. Like, when did we start trusting communists in this country? I'm a lib, bro. I'm a lefty, but I'm not a fucking communist. And I don't believe in a system where people aren't free. And when you look at the way that market dynamics operate in this country, you can see that they're leveraged against the common
You
man.
mean you're not this?
I'm not China maxing, God damn it.
As
And it's
we're recording this, Hassan is over in China, which this guy like hugs the hell out of me. I can't listen for more than like talk about a dummy. In any case, I'm so sorry. I
No,
keep
but I mean,
interrupting.
to wrap, just to put a bow on my point, it's that when there's a giant finger on the scale, and it's not kind of undergirded by a hulking bureaucracy where it has to filter through 10,000 people before it gets done. A lot of dumb shit happens, man. And there's obviously and there's misaligned incentive structures all throughout the economic model that actually don't have anything to do with market forces. And you can be an anarcho syndicalist or whatever the fuck you want, but like the way that we control markets in this country controls the world, and it makes a lot of fucking sense. There's a reason why it's not the Swiss franc that's like the global unit of currency that's traded. It's because our financial system it is so much more robust than any other country in the world, because a lot of these ways that we've manipulated and managed it actually make sense, because we're a democracy, and because it filters through a bazillion people before it gets down to like the average person. And I think that in communist China, there's a giant finger on every single scale that is making them an unreliable narrator of anything that's happening in that country. The electric cars, the GPT. My last point, and then I'll kick it back to you. I think DeepSeek was one of the things that really started turning the tide for some reason for people's perspective on China, where they're like, well, but look, they've got a GPT that only needs 55 NVIDIA fucking 2032s. And I'm like, dude, in what reality are we living in where there's probably not a big ass cable coming out the back of that shed to another shed where there's 300 more chips? You know what I mean? I mean, like, maybe this stuff has all been triple referenced by, AI experts, that it actually is working the way they say it's working. I just don't have any functional ability to believe anything that comes out of China as anything other than propaganda. I mean, does that land for you too? I mean, it is
Okay, well,
driving me crazy.
one of my all-time least favorite Trump things is how he has Like he tries to not report numbers, and he tries to not report our job numbers,
Right.
and this sort of thing. And he just like kind of low key threatens that, and then the whole entire global economic system, all the financial advisors across the planet are like, you can't do that, because like we need your numbers, because this is like very important. And so like he kind of pulls back on that or whatever. And so like, but that's like scary, the fact that he would even hint at doing that, let alone actually go through with it. China's been doing that with zero pushback for decades. Right. So like, to your point, we just don't know how many,
we
like,
don't know anything.
Their true population. We don't know the true population.
Anything about China, dude. We don't know anything.
But the things that we do know, they're always cutting against the idea of their might. So I did just pull this up. How big is China's debt compared to the US's? This is one of the biggest talking points right now among like at least certain lefties that I listen to online. Like, we need to get the debt in order, right? Like all these like debt hawks.
Yeah.
So China's total debt is significantly larger than the United States's, when including all government, parochial, etc., enterprise debt. So like their debt is like worse than ours, and there's like metrics here and stuff. I'm not going to get into it; it's a little boring. But if we're worried about this so much, like, so should China be as well, right?
I don't know, buddy. Debt is such a fictitious, like, it's such a fictitious concept in the way that our current system is financialized.
Well, we have the global currency, and China does not. And it's because we're trusted. It's like, it just comes down to trust, because like money is fake, but like the trust in money can't be fake.
That's right.
It isn't money.
That's right.
Okay, so I wanted to pull up the counter argument here, and maybe we can talk through this for just a second. So there is a counter argument.
Yeah. And I can present some of that counter argument too, to be honest. I think that there's enough counter narrative there that you could cobble together something that resembles a case, although it's not evidence based, right?
Well, let me make the futurist case. Yeah, for China. They just have less scruples than us, right? They still like IP, like there's no tomorrow. We just did a segment. Yeah, we just did a segment on like the hot, babes marrying the Silicon Valley CEOs, like the hot Chinese babes marrying all the CEOs in Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
they're not above that. Like I was just listening to a podcast of a CIA guy talking about how, like, yeah, the CIA, we do some sketchy things or whatever. We just don't do that. That's not a thing that we do.
Yeah.
We don't do the honeypot schemes in America. Yeah. So, but China's totally not above that. They're totally not above just like, we're going to let this lab do whatever they want and get away with it, etc. Okay. So that being the case, we live in a very strange time right now, Devin, where at any given moment, there could be a new paradigm shifting technology that just pops. It wasn't there yesterday and it's there tomorrow. This could be like a longevity thing. So if longevity kicks in, where people are just like de-aging all of a sudden, this takes care of China's aging population problem. That thing that like Peter Zion always talks about, it could just like not be a problem like 20 years from now, right? Let alone like 5 years from now, like 20 years from now. That's even like being somewhat generous from how like the longevity experts talk.
Yeah.
That's one. Two is like the AI thing, for God's sakes. Like, who the fuck knows exactly what? We already know that they're getting a lot of like the best chips, even though they're not supposed to be. We know that they're actually getting some of the best chips. And we are using so many of our chips and so much of our technology for shitty little apps and like video games and shit like this that we gripe about all the time.
Don't get me started.
They're using theirs for their military gear. You know what I mean? And like practical shit to rule the world. So that's another point. Let me just leave it there. Like those are two points where they could like fucking win, right?
Yeah, I think, I hear you. I guess on the military point, from what I understand, they're very, very averse to kinetic conflict. And culturally, we know that kind of historically. And just from a lot of the folks that I'm listening to that are pro-China, they're very much like, like the collective consciousness here is very anti-kinetic war, very pro destabilize the rest of the world systematically.
Suck up
And
some
one of
wealth and get out. Yeah.
that's right. And one of the things that I think that they do right, that is really intelligent as a nation. It's unfortunate that it's controlled by such a small kind of synod of dumbasses, but it's that they put together a 5 and 10 year plan for their country, and they pretty well stick to it. Right. So it's like you look at if it was a couple weeks ago that I was looking over the details of this, but if you look at their 5 year plan from 2020 to 2025, they kind of they pretty much nailed it for themselves. They hit a lot of the benchmarks that they're looking for, and they do this every 5 years where they reset the national agenda. And that's one of the things that I think it makes it really easy for Americans who are lost in a sea of information and a plurality of choice and are kind of in analysis paralysis more often than not. That's a problem that the Chinese government doesn't really allow its people to have. It gives the people a broader narrative in which to situate themselves into. It doesn't kind of throw its citizens to the wolves, like symbolically. Financially, it might, and systems wise, a lot of those systems that it's convincing people to put their
Kind of
equity.
like one thing that cuts against that, though, is that China doesn't really have any natural allies. We have a ton of allies, or we did up until like a year ago.
Dude,
nobody really likes China, and like allies are the single most important thing in a kinetic conflict,
yeah,
and in like any conflict for that matter, even like Cold Wars.
yeah.
So that cuts against China.
Absolutely. And what's funny to me is it always comes back to my central point of like, why do you think we have so many allies? Do you think it's because we've had this long string of really awesome politicians and presidents? Or do you think it's probably because we've got jazz and rock and roll and like cool shit? I'm pretty sure it's because we have cool shit. We export cool shit to the rest of the world, and people love us for that. And like, I know that's a glib thing to say, but actually I think it functionally strikes at the heart of what matters to people, which is fucking culture, man. And what creates culture? Freedom. I mean, period, full stop, writ large. Like China surely, you can't say anything about Chinese culture not being deep or broad or having a lot of like richness to it, because objectively it does. It's just much older than most other cultures on earth. Has it experienced the level of flourishing over the last 100 years that it should have based on how deep its cultural roots go? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. 50 years ago, 70 years ago, China was a lot closer to being like in Iran pre-Islamic fundamentalism, like a really metropolitan place where the broadness and the depth of their cultural ideals would be kind of bloomed and bore out over like a free people. But they don't have that. They have a stifled culture where all we hear is how difficult it is. And I'm so sorry, I've been ranting on this one. Let me ask you, so the border problem, right, with like all these people flooding over the border, how many of them were Chinese nationals in the Biden presidency? It was tens of thousands, man. Nobody's leaving a good ass country to go to a shitty country, man. It's a bullshit place to live because it keeps its people enslaved. God, I mean, I could keep going. I mean, it's like the way that they're sinking equity into invisible real estate. The way that like the Chinese savings account for the average Chinese person is investing in an apartment complex in a city that will never be populated, a building that will never actually be fully built and will probably crumble into dust. I mean, their entire economy is a house of cards, and so is ours. And they might beat the they might catch the rabbit, right? Like they might be the greyhound that catches the rabbit and keeps themselves in front of these collapse events enough that they somehow succeed in generating AGI or something that extricates themselves from all of these higher order things that are happening.
It would be really, really, really interesting if the Peter Zion thing comes true, where in a decade, China as a country does collapse, but then you're left with these kind of like city-state entities like Beijing and Hong Kong, etc. And like, I bet that a lot of them would actually become more like freedom-loving, like Yankee type
Oh yeah,
American ass places.
it would be Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. It would be the fall of the Soviet Union. Their country would balkanize
Mhm.
into all of their diverse ethnic groups. Like the Han Chinese would probably stick together because they really do like to stick together. If
Well,
you
I mean,
know,
I'm not even talking ethnicity. I'm just talking, just like the cities, like Hong Kong. For example,
sure,
they have ties to Europe, and they like are familiar with like how European economics and government structures work. They could start to like actually thrive under that sort of an economy again. And then this is actually part of my futurist vision. This is something that a lot of futurists talk about, is how like countries are not the future, city states are the
sure,
future,
yeah,
because that's how like most of human history was. This is what made the Greeks so powerful, etc.
yeah,
Countries are all like we're birthed in this like one particular time in history. It's not a natural organization, and we like rally around them because like the Olympics and like dumb things. Like countries don't have to exist. You can just have city states, and a lot of people spell out why that might be the future. I'm totally into that, and I'm totally into like maybe China isn't our enemy. Maybe we're friends with half the cities there, half the city states, and not the other half in 150 years. Could be interesting. I don't know. I think
the
the future is
Chinese
in strange
people,
ways.
the Chinese people are our friends, right? Like full
Oh yeah,
stop.
just like the Russian
Right.
people are. You know what I
Yeah, like
mean?
oh yeah, the
100%.
Russian people
Yeah.
are our friends. The political superstructure that lords over them can eat shit and die. Man, I'm so tired of living in a world where there's a communist dictatorship. I'm like, and we don't have a fully unified voice in saying this is ridiculous. I don't even understand why we trade with China. Like if we know that this country is like systematically enslaving and killing fucking thousands of Muslim folks in the southern part of the country, and there's a Holocaust happening in China right now, and we're buying trinkets and shit from them. You know what I mean? I mean, it
The thing
just,
that actually like repulses me, Devin, I mean that obviously too, and we do push back on that like a little bit, and I wish we had like more like mass protests about it. Excuse me. The thing that like genuinely disgusts me. Sorry, I need to sip water.
I do want to say, I do think that China will balkanize because
Interesting. Okay.
you talk to Chinese folks
But
and
hold on,
you,
I want to lose my thought. Is that cool?
yeah,
If
yeah, go, go,
I'm
go, yeah,
gonna
you
lose it if
good,
I.
go, go,
The thing that like actually repulsed me, just to like finish that thread,
yeah,
is I haven't seen these stories recently, but this was like a huge thing a couple years ago, where like we would have a new movie
mm-hmm.
out, and all the Hollywood stars would go to China and would just like completely kiss their ass, and they
Dude,
wouldn't say a single negative thing. You can't even say like, "Oh yeah,
pathetic,
Taiwan's a country." You know what I mean? You
fucking
cannot say
pathetic,
that.
dude.
And that to me is so pathetic. I don't even care, man. If I was like a movie star, I'd be like, I'm fucking tanking this movie because you know what? This sucks. I'm an American. If I value anything, it's free speech. So sorry, I like to be a flag waving hippie over here, but like I would burn the fucking movie to the ground. I'm not gonna, or I'd say China, sorry, you're not getting my goddamn movie. You're not getting it unless I can say Taiwan's a country and whatever the fuck I want. And like also don't like do genocide against like Uyghur people. You know what I mean? I would just like 100% say that. And do you know what? You'd become a hero. And like the
Yeah,
movie would actually probably spike in views just because if someone did that rather than be like, oh no, China, like it's pathetic.
yeah.
I fucking hate that.
I know. I just I don't know when the shoe's going to drop with China, but they're just running the red line so hard in so many different ways. And they just don't really have the kind of they don't really have the check to cash on the back end. It's like they're running the light on everything that they're doing, and they're really going to start to pay these higher order knock-on consequences for some of the ham-fisted bullshit decision making that they've made over the last 50 years economically. And like what, 300 people that control the country of a billion people, it's not enough people, man. Like you have to spread decision making out over a larger group of people than that, otherwise your country is fucking bullshit, dude. Like I don't know what to say. It's like I'm not saying Chinese people are bad, or I'm saying like It's a political system that doesn't make any type of sense to anybody in the modern world. And we
Except
need
for
to be.
Hassan. I was just looking at the Hassan tweets again. He's just over there living it up. It's absolutely
Well,
hilarious.
surely
Hey,
you go
yeah,
to
I gotta
Vegas.
share. Okay,
You
so
go to
here's
Vegas, you don't have to deal with Trump. You know what I mean? It's like you go
oh
to
yeah,
fucking you go to Chicago for a nice weekend from Switzerland. You don't have to deal with Trump. You can go on vacation in China and not have to deal with the Communist Party, except for the minder that's probably 20 feet behind you at all times.
here's a semi-funny tweet. It's actually not surprising that Hassan Piker loves China. China combines Gucci stores with pointless communist aesthetics, which is literally just Hassan's entire politics. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, any last words on China?
Last words on China. Yeah, man. Live free or die. Straight up. I mean, I'll tell you, I could wax philosophic about all of these different dimensions of the Chinese economy that are fake. And I could probably make an okay argument for why China might survive the next 50 years by the skin of its teeth. But I think at the end of the
I'm actually
day,
shocked. I thought that you were way more bullish on China than I was. It turns out you're a doomer just like me on them, which is interesting.
no, because my fundamental argument has always been and probably will always be this. If you don't let your people be free and have free ideas and free speech, your country is destined for collapse.
This
And
is why I'm a little bit worried about Europe right now because
yeah,
they have
yeah,
sent like 70,000, like England has sent 70,000 people to jail over tweets, something stupid like
right.
that. I
Dude.
worry about that. I totally worry about that. And I don't know, man. That's just like, what are you doing, guys? Just don't do that.
And it's like, everybody loves to cast stones at the American system, and everybody likes to look at this country for its failures. And I always say the same thing. What other country is able to manage this type of diversity at scale?
Oh, no
Zero.
other country. We're like
There's
insanely
not.
diverse compared to
There's
any other
no
country.
there's no other country on the face of the earth
We
that
assimilate
contains.
people really well. I was just at a taqueria in the Mission in San Francisco a couple of days ago, uh, and the waitress there didn't speak a lick of English, and it was awesome. And like I was like doing my best to like keep up with like my itsy bitsy bits of Spanish that I know, and it was
Yeah.
great. And like it felt like this is America. Also, last week my daughter comes home and she is singing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" in Mandarin because the teacher aide at her school. Her school is like partly a Mandarin. What do you call
Immersion.
that? Immersion school. Thank you. And
Yeah.
so she comes home like just singing, and we're like, "What is that? What are you saying?" And she's like, and we find out from the teacher aide that it's Mandarin and like "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." I'm like, "This is great. This is awesome. Like, I love America because like this is
Yeah.
fantastic. We are a melting pot. We are a global community. It's beautiful. I absolutely love everything about it."
I want to say this last thing too, and it's not super China related, but it's just kind of piggybacking on this part of the conversation, which is that, like, I just hope, I know it be few and far between people stick around to this part of the podcast, but this is really important to me, which is that,
Hey, we got one person watching. Hey, one
hey, what up?
person.
You'll catch my fantastic.
Give us a shout out in the comments. We'll talk about anything you want. It'll be awesome.
Anything you, yeah, we'll talk about anything you want. Just
Taylor
pose the
Swift.
topic.
I don't know, what do people care about these days?
I think that the beauty of the American system is its slowness and its inability to change quickly. And I think the Trump presidency is proof of that. Once again, I will proclaim the thing that I've been saying for a year now, which is that nobody ever gets that far in this system, man. You make a couple little holes in the ice, and then the next person either widens them or closes them. And that's how the system works. And Trump has done the same thing in his second term that he did in his first term. He tried to go too hard, too fast, and now he's going to spend the next 3 years gummed up by the fucking process, man.
I'm gonna second your comment there because I think that humanity is kind of low key supposed to move kind of sort of slowly.
Yes.
And this again is a Chinese problem, how they
Yep.
built up their cities within like decades rather than
Yeah.
centuries, like European
That's
cities
right.
were built up.
Yep.
And I don't know, like I'm cool with things being tried, but yeah, I don't know. Like in certain regards, I think that you're totally right. It's maybe a benefit that our system moves kind of slowly and is like over thoughtful. You
It
know,
is.
and we double back and we double back again, and then we finally take a step forward. It might be actually to the benefit in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
And that we allow in this country a far left and a far right. And it's like people on either side of that, and even in the middle, look at these extremist people and extremist wings of parties as like something that's evil, but it's not. It's like it really is countervailing forces, man, and they do really kind of tend to balance each other out in a pretty succinct way over the span of 4 to 8 years, right? Like you do see radical shifts in culture from moment to moment, but when you reflect on a presidency, no matter how much you hated the person, not that much happened. I will say the Bush presidency got us embroiled into a 20-year war, which is something that is, I think, kind of it's atypical for a president to be able to drag the United States into like a multi-generational conflict. So there is exceptions to it, obviously, but I think an assistant, like my final note on China is when you've got a very small amount of people controlling policy, nobody's that fucking smart, man. Nobody. You know, you need the mass. You need the intelligence and the wisdom of the masses, and then you need the wisdom of slowness to undergird that. And like, I don't see any reality in which China is as the most powerful country on earth in 20 years. I mean, maybe I'll eat a heap of crow for saying that now, but I think I can't imagine a single scenario in which they achieve dominance in any field. But that sounds almost racist with how sure it is, but I actually do believe that.
Hey, well,
and it's not racist. I love Chinese people.
On that note,
please don't clip me, please.
on that note, we're gonna end this Yahoo America First podcast.
Woo! You know what's wrong with China is they don't let them have guns.
All right, man. Well, till next time. It's good talks.